You know, as a new prepper, it might be hard to figure out where to go shopping. But one of the places we all always end up is a military surplus store. So today, I'm going to show you 17 items that I think preppers should look for in a military surplus store. Let's check it out. Alright folks, welcome back. Now I don't normally do this at the start of my videos, but I don't want you guys to miss out on this deal here. Coming up the next 3 days, alright, Freeze-Dried Wholesalers is having a breakfast item sale. Okay, it expires at midnight on Monday, October 24th. You don't need a code for it. Here's the cool part. It's 15% off of all breakfast items, and you can use my code as well. So you can double up and save 30% on breakfast items. I'll give you an idea of some of the things that are included in it. We have the scrambled eggs, hash browns, cooked Canadian bacon, sliced ham, chicken breakfast sausage, coarse polenta, a dried potato variety case, dried powdered non-fat milk, freeze-dried pumpkin seed and flax granola, and roasted red skin potatoes and vegetables. So check them out. It's 15% off. Next 3 days, no code needed for that, but if you use my code, you can double it up and save 15% on breakfast items. Now, with that said, let's get into the video. Alright folks, welcome back. So I wanted to get into some of the stuff that you can pick up in a military surplus store. Now there are different types of military surplus stores. We will get into that in a moment, okay? Some of them actually sell military surplus. Some of them sell rebranded, import type, secondhand kind of junk that really isn't military surplus, so you got to watch out for that. But I understand that I have a lot of viewers here who aren't from the United States and may not know what a military surplus store is. So basically, they're a civilian-owned business that acquires merchandise from the government and sells it at discounted prices. All right, many of these were originally brick-and-mortar stores, and you can still find a few around there, but a lot of them are moving to the online format, so you can shop from just about anywhere. Now, the merchandise is often used, sometimes it's new stuff, from government agencies and the military that they no longer need. All right, it doesn't mean the items are necessarily bad or obsolete. It just means they've been upgraded or replaced. Now, the benefits of shopping in one. All right, there's lots of benefits to shopping at these types of stores. First of all, the items are heavily discounted. Okay, so you can get a pretty good deal on some older stuff. All right, at a much lower prices than if you were to purchase these new or direct from the supplier. Additionally, these items were intended for heavy use in military operations and even in times of war. So they're rugged and they'll last a good long time. Now, they may not be the lightest supplies. They may not be the best supplies. But they're going to last you, and you're going to be able to save a little bit of money as a new prepper. And that's what we're all looking for, especially on this channel, where I like to help out people who are brand new to prepping and survival. So let's get into the first item I feel you should be checking out in a military surplus store. All right, so item number one is mess kits. Mess kits are typically made of stainless steel, sometimes aluminum. This makes them easy to clean and difficult to break. As a new prepper, you're going to want gear that holds up, all right? You're definitely going to want it, especially if you have kids and they're going to be playing with it, you're using it. So they're difficult to break, they fit tightly together, they're easy to pack along for camping and bugging out. Now, they're not exactly light sometimes. Take a look at this one here. This is actually a real, honest-to-goodness, 1966 military surplus mess kit. However, that said, you can find mess kits from other countries. This is a mess kit made in Sweden. Now this one isn't going to be able to be used over a fire where this one is, but there's options out there. And don't be afraid to use foreign country stuff. Some of the stuff's really good. I'll give you an example here. This is a mess and cook kit. I don't know if this is German or Swedish or whatever. It comes with a Trangia stove, a little burner in the bottom, a little cup on top, and a big pan at the bottom for boiling water. So don't be afraid to use that kind of stuff just because it's from another country. It isn't necessarily bad, and this thing is built like a tank, trust me. This thing will survive wars. All right, let's move on to the next item. And that is canteens, fabric buckets, and water bladders. Okay, back here I have a typical military canteen. All right, it is plastic. Again, can't be used over fire. Let's reach a little bit back further here, and I'll show you another one that I have. And this is more of a water bladder, I would say. It does have the attachment to drink through and the hose there. And I do have water in it. This has just been rotated and it's ready for use. So that is something to think about, all right? Along with that, number 3 would be water purification tablets. Didn't bring any out here, but you know what they look like, all right? And you can usually find them. Just make sure they're not expired or damaged or dirty or they've gotten wet inside or whatever. Sometimes in carrying these items or in even shipping these items to a distributor, they can get damaged. So definitely check them out. If you follow the instructions, they're going to be really, really handy for you. Just make sure you follow the instructions so you don't get sick from them. All right, next up, number 4, can opener. This little guy down here, okay? This is a P51, there are P38s, okay? This is just a little bit of a bigger can opener. One of the things I always tell people is get as many can openers as you can. You're going to be opening a lot of cans of food, especially if you've decided to stock up on canned goods. Something like this really comes in handy in the field. It also comes in handy if your main can opener goes down. And these are dirt cheap. I think these are like 50 cents or something. You can find them online really, really cheap. All right, number 5. MREs and dehydrated food. Now I've got this guy here. This is an MRE. Now I'm not telling you to stock up on MREs only. Of course you should be a lot more well-rounded than that. But for a go bag, emergency kit, bug out bag, stuff like that, MREs work pretty good. And I've shown you in the past in other videos how to field strip them to make them a little lighter. You can cut that out. You can take out all the extra junk. You can just leave the entree in, maybe the entree in a side. You don't need the whole thing. But take a look and check them out and see if you can find them there, because they do come in handy. Also, if you can find the cold weather MREs, the cold weather meals, those are freeze-dried. They're Mountain House. They're really, really good. So definitely keep an eye out for that. You don't need to make your entire meal out of them, but they are complete meals. They come with seasonings, drink mixes, even a heat source on some of them. And dehydrated food's light and easy to carry when bugging out. Also, too, you can find some emergency ration bars, like those First Strike ration bars. So keep an eye out when you're shopping in military surplus stores for that. All right, next up, we're going to talk about something that you really, I feel, do need, and that is a pair of boots. I'm going to get this out of the way so you can see mine back here. Okay, I bought these for work. I used these for work for about 2 or 3 years. I did keep them up and in pretty good shape. And again, I wasn't exactly in combat. I was working on a gun range. But they did come in handy. They did work very well. And you can find them a whole lot cheaper. Now, some of them may not look that great. Some of them may be kind of broken in or used. Broken in is good. All right, if you find a pair that's already been worn and they're not as stiff as new, that's good. You won't have to break them in as much. You still need to break them in for your own feet, but you won't have to break them in as much. Very, very handy, good for hiking and camping as well. And they're made to protect your feet. They got good ankle support and good grip on the bottom. All right. Dress boots and ceremony type boots, they may look nice, but they don't have the ruggedness and foot protection as combat boots. So you definitely want to keep your eye out for a good set of boots. Now, these didn't come from a military surplus store. I believe these are original SWAT. All right, I bought those for 99 bucks at a gun show. However, I probably should have looked in a military surplus store because I probably would have found something a little bit cheaper. All right, let's move on to number 7, and that is clothing. Now, I just have one little piece of gear here this is the military jacket. I don't know if you guys have seen these. Okay, now I got this in a military surplus store. It is real military surplus. Now, I don't suggest you run around wearing these all the time. Please don't put patches and medallions and stuff on there that you did not earn. Let's not pretend we're in the military if you're not. However, these are handy for emergency situations. They're very well made. They're very strong and thick. I would suggest, if you're trying to be gray man, that you don't run around in these. But if you're in the middle of a situation that might require combat, we don't know what might happen in the future, something like this will hold up very, very well. Okay? And you can check them out, and they're usually fairly inexpensive. Now, the next thing we're going to cover here, I'm going to move the camera over that way, and I'm going to show you helmets and caps. Now, in a disaster or a violent confrontation, your head's going to need to be protected. All right, you're also going to need to be covered up in the sun. As corny as they look, I have found these boonie hats to be awesome sun protection. Really, really good, really inexpensive. And I believe this is actually, let me see, is this actually, yep, it is actually military surplus. You can see the tags on the inside there. It is the real deal. Hat, sun, hot weather type 2. So, you can find these very inexpensively. And they do have these little MOLLE attachments there for small things. I wouldn't be clipping on magazines to it. Next up is, of course, a regular sun beanie cap type thing. Now, this isn't original surplus. I believe that's Rothco. But again, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about those other types of military surplus stores that might just sell reproductions from other countries. you know, it still works, it's still decent, and they do have that stuff, and it's kind of handy if you're into prepping to take a look and see what they've got. Last up here, this was my very first popular video I ever did. This is a Kevlar helmet, and I purchased this on keepshooting.com. I believe this is a German Kevlar helmet. It's a pretty close copy of the American one. Nice and sturdy, and it will protect your head very well. The reason I bought this a long time ago, Southern Prepper 1, I believe, did a video where he actually shot this with different rounds. And well, yeah, it's going to cause some serious traumatic injury. None of the rounds penetrated. Okay, and that's really, really handy. This is more for frag, for stuff hitting you in the head. I bought this helmet originally, and it's a funny story. When I was watching a while back, years ago, when I was watching the first unrest in the Ukraine where they were taking over their government or whatever, and I saw some guy with literally bread and hot dog buns over his head to protect his head during the unrest. I'm like, you know what? That's never going to be me. I'm going to get something that will protect me. And I believe it was like 70 bucks. Who knows what they are now with inflation. But it was fairly inexpensive, and the first video I ever did on it, I actually painted it because it was green, and I painted it with camo stuff, and ended up painting half my arm in that video too. So if you go back to look at it, yes, I'm holding it, and I paint right down my arm. And that's mostly what everybody noticed from that video. It's like, doing this awesome camo job, and they're all like, maybe you should protect your arm better. Anyway, definitely check out helmets and caps. Next up, sleeping bags. Okay, I do have a military surplus sleeping bag in here. This came out of my long-term survival kit for deployment in the case of ham radio type stuff, if they're going to call us out for a long time. The stuff sack isn't original. It's just one I found at Walmart, but this is a really nice sleeping bag. Also, too, blankets. I have a Whoopee over here. That would be number 10, emergency blankets. Also, too, don't write these off. These things work very well. They will not keep you toasty warm. Understand that. What they will do is keep your internal body temperature from getting hypothermia, from dropping low enough where you'll get hypothermia. But couple it with a sleeping bag and a Whoopee, or a blanket, military blanket, for inside the sleeping bag or over the sleeping bag, you're definitely going to be well protected. And they're very inexpensive. Okay, next up, we're talking about tents. Now, a long time ago, I did a video on this, and if you search through my video for Light Fighter, what's it called? Light Fighter 1, I believe, you will be able to find it, okay? Light Fighter Individual Shelter System, all right? These things are not cheap, and they're very, very well made. Whoops, dropping stuff off my wall here because I'm trying to reach around. All right, let's get that out of there. There we go. So you can see it right there. But anyway, you get the idea, okay? Very good shelter system. These are not cheap. They'll usually run you about $200 to $300 if you find them. However, brand new, they're well in the thousands, so we definitely want to be careful about how much we spend, and that is a good way to save some money. All right, let me back up the camera a little bit, and we'll continue on. Paracord. I can't tell you. You know, again, I used to roll my eyes at Paracord. I'm like, what do I need Paracord for? Then I started understanding prepping and survival. Again, this was back in the 90s when I first got into it, and I understood how important it was. This is some very nice Paracord here. This also came out, a lot of this stuff came out of one of my kits. This guy right here is very inexpensive. I think that's like 50 feet. It's not a lot. It's just enough to keep me supplied. However, you can get rolls of hundreds of feet of this stuff. The military surplus store I go to is located in North Las Vegas. It's called Hans Military Surplus. I've done videos of my hauls from there. You definitely want to check them out if you're a local. Get in there, check out Hans. They do have some good prices. Some of the stuff's expensive, but it's really not all that bad. It's very lightweight, very heavy duty, easy to use. It's got all kinds of purposes. So definitely check out Paracord. Definitely want to get you some of that. Now, next up is knives and hatchets. Okay, I understand this is not an original knife. However, this is, I believe it's U.S. Air Force survival knife. Okay? You can find deals like this in the stores. These things originally were not made all that sharp. I did put a nice edge on it. They were made to pierce the side of aircraft in a downed aircraft. You can pierce your way through it. So they're basically a bolt knife. I mean, they're just like, you know, built like tanks. You can find that stuff inexpensively. You can also find some good smaller military hatchets. And the one I was telling you about, the store I was telling you about, Hans, does have a wide selection of original stuff as well as the knockoff stuff. I believe that's made by Ontario, so it's a quality knife. But you can check it out there. Definitely a good place to pick it up. Shovels also. If you need to dig your vehicle out of a snowdrift, dig a hole, use the restroom, or maybe even turn over some ground to create a fire pit or a Dakota fire hole, you definitely want a small shovel. And there's military surplus stores that have tons of those small shovels in stock, so check them out. The next thing is something I didn't want to disturb because I got a ton of them on the other side of the room over there, and that's jerry cans. Now, jerry cans are basically metal. They look like gas cans, okay? And mostly that's what we use them to store with. They're made of steel. They originated in Germany, and actually mine are German. The name comes from a slang term in German for the cans. The cans were originally intended to hold fuel, but now they're available for other purposes, and the color of the can depict what it is used for. So like a blue one, it might be water, a green one might be fuel, a red one might be fuel, whatever. Regardless, a yellow one, possibly diesel or kerosene, if you can find them at a good price and they're decent, okay, make sure, A, they're empty, B, take a flashlight and look inside of them, make sure that lining is intact and it's not all rusted out and nasty. You can find them for a great price. I ended up picking up about 7 of them from a local military surplus store in town here that unfortunately wasn't in business for very long. And I think I got them for $15 each. And what I do is I just kept going back. Like once a week I go back and buy one, go back and buy one. And I ended up with 7 of them. Then unfortunately that military surplus store, probably because of its location, it was kind of off the beaten path, went out of business. And, you know, I got what I got and that was it. So definitely check out jerry cans. Number 16 is books. Now, this may seem kind of weird. You know, we're talking about survival gear. But books and military manuals have a ton of knowledge in them. I have this one actually, and this is an original Blue Jackets manual from the Navy. This is from 1940. While some of the information, of course, is antiquated on here, there's excellent information in here for tying knots, how certain military guns work, stuff like that. Just unbelievable information, how to tie a knot. This really got me started on knot tying. There's a big section, I can't find it in here, but there's a big fold-out section that folds out that shows all the type of different knots that you use at sea. Well, they also come in handy for everyday use. This book here is a book of common military tasks, and it is falling apart. I do need to get some work on it. Soldier's Manual of Common Tasks. Of course, it's a real one because whoever Sergeant Marshall was, he had it before I did. And I bought this for like $2 or $3 in a store somewhere. How to replace canisters in your gas masks, all that stuff. Operator's Manual for your ARs or M16s or whatever. Special Forces Handbook. These are real military surplus manuals. And unconventional warfare devices and techniques. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and use this stuff, but it's handy knowledge to have, okay? And there are tons of different types of manuals out there on how to survive in the cold, how to hide yourself, how to build a shelter, how to build a base camp. Tons of information out there, and it's dirt cheap. I mean, I think these are like $5 or $6 or $7 each. And you can usually find them also at gun shows, but mostly at military surplus stores. Now, the last thing, again, something I didn't bring out, but this is something that you kind of have to judge for yourself, okay? Because this is a potential life-saving item, and that's gas masks. Now, most military surplus stores will have those old-style German gas masks that look silly. I wouldn't recommend those. They're fun to play with maybe and decorate with or be silly with, but I really wouldn't recommend those. You want something that is real military surplus. The ones I purchased, I actually purchased online. Fair notification on that. They are Israeli military surplus gas masks. They're the ones that are given out to civilians. They were basically brand new when I got them. That was about 4 years ago. So definitely get to know what you like. I tend to like the ones that use 40 millimeter cartridges because they're available everywhere. And you can buy new ones that are NBC rated or CBRN rated, however you want to do it, for nuclear, biological, chemical, radiation, anything. They're rated for that, so you definitely want to look around and be careful. There are some places that sell them online. They're very, very expensive. So look around and see. Get to learn about the gas masks first before you buy one in a surplus store. You may meet somebody who wants to sell you something that may not tell you the whole truth about it, and when push comes to shove and it's survival time, you may end up really, really regretting your purchase. So make sure you buy something quality. So that's quickly 17 items, okay, that I think you should look for as a new prepper when you go to a military surplus store. They are excellent for finding good stuff, good quality gear. Again, buyer beware. You have to know the difference between a military surplus store and a store that maybe has 1 or 2 items that are surplus, and the rest are all new, imported from China or Mexico or wherever, and they're not real surplus. They're just knockoffs. So you definitely want to be careful when you're looking for that. And one of the telltale things I always find is, let me grab this hat over here and show you. Usually, now some of the places have started copying this, but usually they will have a tag with an NSN number on it. Okay, and this is made in the USA by R&D Inc. There's your NSM number, SPO number, and military number. Okay, so generally, when you find these on here, there are some places that do knockoffs and use these type of tags, but you will find that in there. And that's the way you know you're getting real military surplus. If you guys have anything you feel you want to add to this, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I do appreciate when you guys share your information and knowledge with me. Like I said, there are many, many military surplus stores still in operation today. Usually, you find them when you least expect them. I've found some just driving around sometimes, like, oh wow, let's stop there and look. You know, I remember coming back from California one day. I found a great deal on a Kamanga compass. So you'll be amazed at what you'll find in them, and you will find some good deals. You'll also find some pretty expensive stuff too. The more expensive stuff might be collector stuff, and that's not stuff you really want. Anyway, folks, thank you for hanging around with me. Thank you for dealing with my voice today. I'm getting a little bit better. And don't forget to check out all our links down below. We have our freeze-dried wholesaler link. I told you about that one. You can get that sale for the next 3 days on all breakfast items, 15% off without a code, and you can use my code and double that up to 30% off on all breakfast items, so definitely check it out. Below that, we have our Amazon affiliate store. If you're interested in some of the gear that I have, not this stuff, but some of the gear I have, you can check it out on that store there. We have our My Patriot supply link. That's preparewithiridium.com. Check that out as well for your food storage needs. If you have nothing and you want to get a big jump in your preparedness, check them out. $250 off a 3-month kit. And it was affordable to begin with, so that's a pretty darn good deal. We also have deals on other gear from My Patriot Supply, as well as the 4-week kit. That's a pretty good price as well. Below that is our Thrive Life freeze-dried food store, so check them out. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching. Again, if you have any other ideas that you love to buy in a military surplus store, leave them below. Stay safe and stay prepared.